So apparently a guy on TikTok with like 500,000 followers has been teaching people after they sneak into the country how to invoke squatters' rights in homes so that they can have a place to live without getting kicked out. But what are squatter rights? Well, let's start with just California, just for example. Squatters are people who establish residence in properties that they don't legally own or have explicit permission to occupy. Unlike tenants, they don't engage in a rental agreement or pay rent, and specifically in California, the property owner doesn't initially sanction their stay. This can happen in like unoccupied properties, foreclosed properties, abandoned properties, and things like that. Now, here's the thing, adverse possession claim, which is like the center of discussion about squatting. Because it says that under certain conditions, this legal principle enables squatters to claim rightful ownership of a property they've occupied without the tenant's consent. So there's typically 5 legal requirements that must be met for an adverse possession claim to be made. Hostile, not to mean violent or aggressive. Instead, hostile in this case means adverse to the interests of a property owner. Actual, meaning the squatter actually possesses the property and treats it as if it were their own home. Open and notorious. The occupant isn't attempting to hide their squatting. Their occupancy is obvious to everyone, including the property owner. Exclusive possession. Squatter must be the only one in possession of the land. And then continuous possession, which squatter must prove that they have been residing in the property for an uninterrupted amount of time. All right, so which states have squatters' rights? They all do, all 50 states. The major difference is the timeline for how long the occupant must have resided there before they claim rights to the property. For example, like Louisiana and New Jersey have the longest time period, requiring 30 years of uninterrupted occupancy, meaning that person would need to live there for 30 years without the owner knowing that they're there. Meanwhile, California and Montana require the least amount of time, which is 5 years of uninterrupted occupancy. So if you've been affected by a squatter, the first step, at least in California, is to serve a notice to quit, which is a written notification that orders the squatters to vacate the property within a specified time frame, typically 3 days in California. This eviction notice must be delivered in a manner that complies with state laws, ensuring it's legally binding and recognized. The notice to quit is an important initial step as it formally begins the eviction process and establishes a legal basis for further actions if the squatters refuse to leave. The next thing you have to do is file an unlawful detainer lawsuit, which is, if they decide that they're just not going to leave, you have to file that in court. It's a legal action that seeks to obtain a court order that recognizes the property rights of the owner and requests the removal of the squatters via law enforcement. Basically, you have to pay money to legally remove someone from your home or that you own or your property that you own. After you file the lawsuit, a court hearing will be scheduled in which you'll hear during that hearing the property owner will present evidence of ownership and demonstrate that the squatters do not have a legal right to occupy the property. This could take some time, right? This may include presenting the property deed, any communication with the squatters, and the notice to quit that was served. The squatters will also have an opportunity to present their case, and then the judge will then make a decision based on the evidence presented. If the court rules in favor of the property owner, the next step is to obtain a writ of restitution. This legal document authorizes the original property owner to work with law enforcement to physically remove the squatters from the property. This is basically the final legal approval needed for eviction, so you could get the people that are staying in your home unlawfully out. There's also ways that they recommend handling squatters without the need to escalate. In some situations, opting for diplomacy over confrontation might be more expedient. Offering a financial incentive to encourage squatters to leave might seem counterintuitive, but it can sometimes be the quickest, least stressful, and most cost-effective solution. Well, it depends. Depends on if you can pay them less money than it's going to cost you to pay for the court stuff. Or you can offer them the opportunity to transition from squatter to tenant. Either way, this seems like a huge, long, drawn-out process, and it's not simple. Not as simple as it should be for somebody that's living in a home that you own illegally.